Georgia woman dies after a long medical battle. Her husband now accused of hiding his HIV diagnosis from her.
She was in full-blown AIDS after having untreated, undiagnosed HIV for at least 5 years.
Plus, first responders receiving inconsistent instructions on how to deal with toxic train derailments, what it could mean for the safety of your community. When systems fail, people pay the price. We trace the damage, expose the truth, and fight to fix it. This is Uncovered by Atlanta News First Investigates.
A Conyers woman thought she was dying from cancer, but an Atlanta News First investigation reveals she had untreated AIDS.
The diagnosis came too late, and when her family searched for answers, it led them to criminal court.
Like, how is this even our life?
Life these days
She's supposed to be here right now.
looks a lot like reminiscing for sisters Tammy Hammonds and Karen Young.
I like that one too.
In 2017, doctors first diagnosed their mom, Denise Brody, with breast cancer. She went into remission, but 2 years later, the cancer came back, this time attacking her lungs.
The decline was so rapid.
After years of on and off hospital extended stays and chemotherapy, the cancer had cleared. But Denise somehow was still sick. The family had new doctors run new tests again for everything. Karen recalls doctors determining her 65-year-old mom was dying, but not from a malignant mass.
Then they end up calling us, telling us that she's not going to beat this. You need to take her off the ventilator, and she's not going to make it because she has HIV, she has AIDS.
Denise died April 2nd, 2022, and based off her blood work,
She was in full-blown AIDS after having untreated, undiagnosed HIV for at least 5 years.
the person who gave it to her was not unknown. Criminal records allege it was her husband, Cleveland Brody.
Mr. Brody, you are charged at this time with the sole count of reckless conduct, HIV-infected person. It is a felony charge. Would you like the court to read your warrant aloud?
The warrants read, this was no accident, instead intentional. Detectives claim medical files reveal Brody knew of his status since 2006. The charging documents cite Brody did endanger by consciously disregarding a substantial and unjustifiable risk that his act or omission of not telling his wife his status resulted in her death.
How long have you lived in Conyers?
10 years.
Inside the courtroom on July 11th, Denise's entire family anxiously watched the bond hearing.
I am going to deny bond, finding you at risk of flight.
Outside the courtroom, they breathe a somber sigh of relief for a case that only came after the family's investigation led to Rockdale County Sheriff's Office doing its own.
I do not think my mother was the first.
As the hearing wrapped for one charge, prosecutors filed another. New warrants detail a second victim just accused the 61-year-old of not disclosing his status and having unprotected sex with her. What's more, the sheriff's office says investigators have reason to believe there are other victims.
If Brody were convicted of felony reckless conduct HIV-infected person, he would only face up to 5 years. It used to be up to 10 years, but advocacy groups like Georgia Equality fought to change the law last year with SB 164 to decriminalize and destigmatize HIV status. But the group argues this new law wasn't intended for cases like Brody's, who police say knew his status and had criminal intent.
So the particular instance in which someone would be arrested and charged with HIV transmission without disclosure was very, very rare.
Georgia Equality's HIV policy manager and former prosecutor Chauncey McGathery maintains most often HIV spreads because people do not know their status. Georgia ranks second in the country for new HIV diagnosis. The metro area is of specific public health concern. Fulton sits at the 6th highest U.S. county for new cases.
People aren't dying from HIV and AIDS. Like, this is not a death sentence, especially in 2023.
Absolutely, and that's critical information.
It did not have to be a death sentence for Denise either.
If he had just gave her that one courtesy, just to tell her that, you know, to test herself for it, and that could be it, and she could have gotten treatment.
A contentious courtroom battle ahead on Uncovered. Atlanta News First investigates a family's fight to keep their loved one's accused killer behind bars. A Conyers man charged with murder, accused of intentionally spreading HIV. Prosecutors claim it led to the death of his wife.
But defense attorneys claim the man now facing murder charges did disclose his HIV-positive status to his wife years before her passing.
He gave 2 women HIV. One of them died from it. He also had sex unprotected with 3 other women without disclosing it. He is a significant danger to women in the community.
Monday morning, Rockdale County District Attorney asking a judge to deny bond for Cleveland Brody. He's been indicted on felony murder, malice murder, and 3 counts of reckless conduct HIV-infected person. Previous Atlanta News First investigations revealed he allegedly did not disclose his HIV status to his wife, Denise. Doctors said it led to her death, a point of fiery contention in Monday's hearing. The defense reading this death certificate alleging health complications caused her death, while the state argued the complications were due to her contracting HIV, as noted in the death certificate.
She said that she died of HIV. I have a certified copy of the death certificate. On the death certificate, acute HYPOXEMIC respiratory failure.
Due to
What? May I finish?
if you tell the court the truth.
The truth, the suspect's attorney claimed, is that Brody wrote a letter disclosing his status to his wife before they got married. The lawyer telling the judge the family stole the document. Meanwhile, Denise's family and an advocate representing one of the other victims told the court he is dangerous.
It's something that only the devil could do.
Asking the judge to keep Brody in jail.
Granting him bond would feel like a betrayal of justice, but it would also place our family and our community at further risk.
Despite their plea, the judge reminded the court Brody is innocent until proven guilty, granting an $800,000 bond on malice murder and felony murder charges.
Sierra, the question that I'm left with is, why wasn't the HIV detected earlier?
Typically, when you're doing blood work, you need to specifically ask your healthcare worker, test me for HIV. And what happened in this case, they knew their mom had cancer, so they were prioritizing the cancer. They were trying to figure out all of the steps they needed to take as a family to make sure her care for her cancer diagnosis was up to par. So in their mind, the family's like, we had no reason to believe anything else was going on because we know the toll cancer can take on the body. So as her doctors are handling this cancer diagnosis, they're treating it, they see the success with the treatment and they're realizing, hey, like she's not improving in the way that we thought she would. Ultimately, the family decides to move her from the first hospital and get her to another hospital. They do treatments over there for the cancer. When she doesn't immediately improve there, that's when they ask, hey, we want you to run the gamut, specifically test her for everything, including HIV. And that's when they found out that she had full-blown AIDS.
Wow, how extraordinary. It's been 3 years now. What are the chances this goes to trial soon?
The family really wanted this case to go to trial every year for the last 3 years, and it did not. He even changed defense attorneys. The last defense attorney that he has had on his team, he wanted to work through getting some more evidence because, as we noted in this story, he's claiming he told his wife about his diagnosis years before she passed. So that was really interesting here. They wanted to take some time through what we call discovery, getting more evidence to prove their case. According to court records that we just looked at the time of this recording, it will be going to trial in 2026. It seems like that trial will start in June.
And from a beyond a reasonable doubt standpoint, it really comes down to, did he tell her and did she know? And then that means prosecutors would have to prove a negative. they would have to prove he did not tell her. And that's very hard to do when there were only two people in that conversation.
Yeah, and a big piece of that conversation is missing because she is no longer here with her family. So we will see how this trial plays out.
Thanks, Sierra. Hazardous material on trains through Georgia cities. But what happens when disaster strikes? Are first responders ready?
Every day, thousands of rail cars carry hazardous materials through towns and cities across the U.S.
Josie Sturman uncovered many departments are not fully prepared to respond if disaster strikes and there's a derailment.
911, what is location emergency?
There's been a train derailment.
Looked down on my phone and seen the page come in and seen we had a train wreck.
Flammable tank cars?
I have no clue what they are.
I can tell.
Okay. Well, I don't want to blow anything up, so.
I'd rather not die today.
I'd agree.
And you see a lot of cars and they're accordioned and buried in the ground.
I saw the dust and I'm like, okay, this is bad.
You get to the scene and you're looking at, what are we up against? How bad is it? What is the train actually carrying?
What are we working with? Loaded hazardous ethanol.
They gave us all of those specific car numbers. We were able to get the drones up quickly.
Okay, how many cars are derailed?
From what I can see, quite a few. They look like they're tankers that are hauling fuel or crude oil.
I mean, you just go into reaction mode right away. You start thinking what you're going to do for the response.
On a sunny summer afternoon in rural Reeseville, Wisconsin, Fire Chief Eric Howlett was once again responding to the unimaginable.
Most people don't experience going on a call like that once in their lifetime, much less twice.
But here he was for the second time in just over 2 years, dealing with a massive train derailment on the tracks that cut right through the heart of town.
This one was a little bit more unique as the dispatcher was paging, possible hazardous materials they were transporting.
Emergency crews were facing at least 20 toppled cars, some of them bashed in and mangled, buried in the ground along the tracks in the neighboring marsh. With initial reports claiming the train was carrying thousands of pounds of highly flammable ethanol, first responders had to scramble into action.
How far of the area do we need to evacuate potentially, mitigate what's there? How long is the spill going to be? What is actually spilling?
With help from technology from the rail industry, they soon learned exactly what was inside every single car: crude oil. Still, they were ready. Years of training in derailment scenarios involving hazardous materials, Howlett says, had prepared first responders, giving them the tools to handle the kind of disaster that's incredibly rare but impactful.
If there are departments who think, well, it'll never be us, this couldn't happen here, is that dangerous thinking?
Yes, very dangerous. Yep. You want to be ready for anything that's thrown at you.
But our national investigative team, with help from the Arnold Center for Investigative Journalism at Indiana University, discovered fire departments nationwide may not be prepared for the possibility of becoming the next Reeseville, or even worse, the next East Palestine. In 2023, that Ohio village was the site of a toxic train derailment that triggered a massive fire, the evacuation of thousands of people, and hundreds of millions of dollars in environmental damage. It's the most serious derailment in the U.S. in years, but far from the only one.
There's like a 50 car pileup, like the whole entire train is on top of each other, every car.
Yeah, I was talking about that train that's got a rail car on fire. We do have some hazmat on that train.
The train, it's right there. That's where the main oil spill is.
From coast to coast, Federal Railroad Administration data we analyzed shows that since 2020, there have been more than 1,600 derailments involving trains carrying hazardous materials. 725 of those saw damage to a car containing hazmat, with dozens of incidents where that material was released, including major wrecks in Arizona, Louisiana, and Kentucky. Still, we found many communities are untrained, not fully prepared to react to a derailment that involves dangerous content. Our team surveyed dozens of fire departments near rail lines nationwide, finding some don't do any training for potential derailments involving hazardous materials, even when they told us they have real concerns about the possibility. In departments that do train, there are big variations in frequency, with some going years between sessions. and many departments relying solely on online classes rather than hands-on training exercises, with volunteer departments often strapped to find time to prepare specifically for this kind of disaster, even when they'll likely be first on scene, waiting minutes or hours for specialized hazmat teams or railroad response crews.
How serious of a problem is it if a department isn't doing this kind of training regularly?
Well, I mean, it's a huge problem.
Jamie Burgess is the director of training for the International Association of Firefighters. The group represents hundreds of thousands of first responders across the country and secures millions of dollars in federal funding every year to make sure the hazmat training programs they need are available. But with many departments battling time and resource challenges, Burgess knows they often have no choice but to push it to the back burner.
It's such a low frequency event that some fire departments don't place as much emphasis on it, which makes sense because if you're responding to a house fire every day or every week, you're going to train for what you're most likely to experience.
It's an odds game.
Yeah, I mean, you're essentially you're competing with every other job function that you have to do, and unfortunately, hazardous materials doesn't always come to the forefront.
What are the potential consequences of not being ready?
Anytime you have a potential incident and you're not prepared, you have to start from scratch.
Andy Elkins never wants to see that happen. He's in charge of hazmat compliance for the Association of American Railroads, the lobbying group that represents the nation's major rail companies.
The more you train, the safer you are, the better your response is going to be, and the more effectively you're going to serve your community.
But the industry is also serving communities, trying to remove some of the biggest burdens, travel and cost, by meeting first responders where they live, with in-person or remote training. Last year, AAR says rail carriers themselves trained at least 30,000 first responders.
If you want to, we welcome you to climb it. Want to go up top and see what it's like?
The major players, including CSX, even take hazmat simulator trains on the road to give emergency crews exposure to what they could see in real life.
Always make sure you're opening it from the side and keep your face away from it.
But preparing for a potential disaster isn't just about running scenarios. It's about arming responders with physical tools they'll need to minimize any potential impact.
How critical is it for first responders to be able to look at a car and say, I know what's in this and I know how to contain it?
The most important thing that you can have when you respond into any incident is knowledge.
Key information needed with derailments is spelled out on the side of every rail car in the country. These white numbers and letters are code for what's carried inside, one that can be unlocked with an app developed by the rail industry more than a decade ago.
This has a locomotive, this has a hazardous material, this has multiple hazardous material cars.
The AskRail app breaks down not just what's being carried car by car, but also containment protocols tailored to specific chemicals and evacuation zones down to street level.
We can zoom in to the very minute details. Amazing information. And how long did it take us?
Seconds.
Seconds to get this information available.
AAR says AskRail has already been put into the hands of more than 2 million first responders for free. But many of the smaller departments we surveyed say they don't use it. Some had never even heard of it, despite massive amounts of outreach about a tool that could save lives in that once-in-a-lifetime scenario.
Not having critical pieces of the puzzle creates potential failure. We want you to have every piece of information. Most first responders will never respond to a rail hazardous materials incident. But when they do, we want them to have the training, have the tools, know where to get the additional resources, and have the confidence that the railroads are on the way.
Back in Reeseville, Wisconsin, the rail tracks are back in operation, but the road to recovery is just beginning. As of late September, debris from the wreck still sat in tangled piles along the track, and those derailed cars are laid out like fallen soldiers at a warehouse just down the dirt road. But as the cleanup continues, so does the preparation.
Train, be ready, because when it happens, at that moment, seconds count.
Because Chief Eric Howlett knows lightning could always strike for a third time.
Here in Georgia, since 2020, there has been 46 derailments involving trains containing at least one hazmat, 5 of them in Fulton County.
And nationally, the rail industry is making a major push to get the AskRail app into 911 call centers as a backup in case first responders on scene don't have access.
You can listen to all of our extended conversations on these stories right now on our podcast, Behind the Investigation. Just search Atlanta News First on your favorite podcast platform. You're watching Uncovered by Atlanta News First Investigates, a weekly hour-long investigative show with new episodes launching every Sunday at 7.